With 3 out of the 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round of the 2018 NFL Draft now playing in the AFC East, which one is most likely to succeed? Welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome as we break down the AFC East quarterback position. More importantly, the 3 quarterbacks that were drafted in the 2018 NFL Draft first round. We all know about that guy in New England, Tom Brady. TB12 is the GOAT. Not much to talk about when it comes to Tom Brady. But what about those other 3 guys? You're talking about Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. You're talking about Sam Darnold for the New York, New Jersey Jets. And now you're talking Josh Rosen for those Miami Dolphins, who is ready to succeed for their team this coming up season. You might be surprised what I have to say about each team, but more importantly, of course, on this channel, we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. Before we do that, however, I remind everyone, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, guys, hit that subscribe button because we keep you posted on all Buffalo sports, not only our Buffalo Bills, but we have our Buffalo Sabres as well, and the Buffalo Bisons, Buffalo Buttes, Buffalo Bulls, you name it, we'll have it covered right here on Billievers Talk. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, hit that notification bell, and then follow us on Twitter as well. Link in the description below to get great Buffalo sports content. So let's talk about those 3 quarterbacks that I mentioned again. Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, all 3 quarterbacks selected in the top 10 of the 2018 NFL Draft coming into their second season, and actually for Josh Rosen, his first season with the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to list these guys. I'm going to talk about them in alphabetical order from their last name. So I'm going to go Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills first, Sam Darnold of the New York Jets second, and then Josh Rosen third. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to give you the stats, my 2019-2020 prediction for the stats for each one of these quarterbacks. So you want to stick with me there and find out what I think each one of these quarterbacks are going to do in the 2019-2020 season. Will they lead their team to a playoff berth? So first, we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk about Josh Allen, baby. Josh Allen played in 12 games last year. Remember, he came in relief of Nathan Peterman in the first game of the season. Nathan Peterman couldn't even last more than barely into the second half before Josh Allen comes in and gets his rookie season started. He starts 11 games, only finishes 10 games, however. You remember, he went out in that Houston game, I believe it was week 6. He went out in the Houston game, couldn't finish that one. He's 5-5 as a starter in games. He finished 5-6 overall as a starter. Talking about a guy who had 2 fourth-quarter comebacks last season and 1 for game-winning drive. You're talking about the game-winning drive against Jacksonville, went into the fourth quarter, tied in that game. 2 game-winning drives. You're talking about the game week 5 against the Titans, and then week 14 against the Detroit Lions. So he's already faced a little bit of adversity, got a little taste of adversity, and can tell you that he can come back, unlike the previous quarterback here in Buffalo. So let's talk about Josh Allen's regular season. Josh Allen was sacked 41 times. Now, again, you remember, he only played really in 12 games total throughout the season, considering he played most of the second half in the first game, missed a lot of the fourth quarter in that one game against Houston. So played pretty much in 12 games, was sacked 41 times. That was 10th worst in the NFL. No, he was sacked 28 times. I apologize. He was sacked 28 times, sacked 8% of his dropbacks. The Buffalo Bills quarterbacks between Josh Allen, between Derek Anderson, Matt Barkley, and Nathan Peterman, they were sacked 41 times, 10th worst in the NFL. So good to see that we improved that offensive line a little bit for Josh Allen, getting pretty much a whole new offensive line minus Deion Dawkins. We'll see if they improve. Going through the game logs for Josh Allen's season, I would say that his worst game was week 4 against the Green Bay Packers. Week 4, the Bills lose to the Green Bay Packers 22-0, get shut out. In that game, he goes 16 for 33, 48.8%, and he has 2 interceptions, only throws for 100 51 yards. Now, he did run the ball 5 times for 19 yards, but even as you look later in the season, you know that those are not Josh Allen numbers. So the Green Bay Packers shut out the Buffalo Bills. I think that's Josh Allen's worst game. Let me know if you agree with that in the comment section below. 2018, what was Josh Allen's worst game? I'm going to tell you his best game here in a second. I think his best game, of course, I think a lot of Bills fans will say this, and this is why a lot of Bills fans are excited for this season. His best game was the last game for the Buffalo Bills. You're talking about the Miami Dolphins, a win where we beat them 42-17. Now, some might say that the Miami Dolphins were definitely throwing in the towel by week 17. The Dolphins did beat us earlier in the season. However, we come back, get vengeance against them, beat them 42-17. In this game, he completes 65% of his passes, 17 for 26, 224 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. They look at rushing the ball. He ran it 9 times for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he was responsible for 5 touchdowns for the Buffalo Bills. So great productivity there. For the season, Josh Allen went 169 for 320, 52.81 completion percentage, 2,074 yards, 10 interceptions, or 10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Would like to see those numbers go a little bit differently this season, right? Want to see more touchdowns by interceptions, and we want to see a bigger gap between touchdowns and interceptions as well. Ran the ball 89 times for 631 yards and 8 touchdowns. This guy did really well running the ball, and I know he can run the ball, but I really want to see those numbers go down in the next coming seasons, 2019 especially. Don't have to run the ball as much. Rely on that cannon for an arm and rely on those playmakers that we got you this offseason. Another number that concerns me is he did fumble the ball 8 times this previous season. Now, I don't know how many of those were recovered by the other team. I know he recovered 2 of them himself, but 8 fumbles this season. Going into the season, we thought out of the quarterback, Sam Darnold would be the one who would have the fumble issues. Josh Allen has more fumbles on the season than Sam Darnold. We need to make sure we protect that football. So again, 12 games, 8 fumbles, not good number. We need to make sure we protect that football. Hopefully that's something they're going over this offseason. I'm sure it is. We got to protect that ball. So going into the 2019 season, again, one thing I would really like to see here in the 2019-2020 season, I want to see Josh Allen go through his progressions better, right? We have a better offensive line now. He doesn't have to be so finicky and so panicky and run as soon as he doesn't find his first open 1 or 2 targets. Go through your progressions. Maybe complete some screen passes. It's okay. Now, I know a lot of that has to do with the system. I know a lot of that has to do with the play caller as far as Brian Dable getting plays out to him. But make those plays. Be okay with a dump pass to McCoy or to Devin Singletary or to TJ Yeldon. Heck, we got TJ Yeldon for a reason, and that's because he's a good guy to catch the ball in the backfield. Hopefully, he brings that to Buffalo. Hopefully, Josh Allen utilizes that. And again, not run the ball so much. We're talking about 89 runs this past season. We don't need a QB who runs the ball that much. Can he be effective with his legs? Yes. Did we love when he leaped over Anthony Barr against Minnesota week 3? Absolutely. Is that something we need our quarterback to do? Not at all. They need to know that we can run the ball with our quarterback. They need to know that they need to keep an eye on that threat, maybe even have a QB spy in there. But we need to make sure that our QB can be a pocket passer when he needs to be and not be hurrying to get out of the pocket. Again, we have a new offensive line. That means hopefully we have time. We give Josh Allen time to look downfield. So I'll give you my prediction for the 2019-2020 season when it comes to Josh Allen in a minute at the end of this video. But we need to talk about the other 2 quarterbacks taken in the 2018 draft that now reside in the AFC East. And like I said, we're doing this in alphabet quarter, so that means next on the list is New York, New Jersey Jets quarterback Sam Darnold. That's right. Sam Darnold out of USC, played in 13 games last season, was 4-9 as a starter. Again, Sam Darnold's kind of like the same thing with Josh Allen. Gets injured during the season and unfortunately has to miss a few games. However, he comes back and looks pretty good when he comes back. So you look at this chart. We'll go through his games real quick again. 4-9 as a starter, 57.7% completion percentage. He was sacked 30 times, which is a sack of 6.8% of his dropbacks. Jets QB sacked a total of 37 times. So in the games he missed, in the 3 games he missed, they were sacked 7 times. He was sacked 30 times in 13 games, so a little bit more with him on the field than with him off the field. Now, when I go through his numbers, you'll see he's not nearly as of a threat with his legs as Josh Allen is, right? So that has something to do with it. When you're standing back there more as a statue, then you have the ability to run. Who knows how many more sacks Josh Allen would have faced if he was unable to run the way he's able. Going over Sam Darnold's stats, again, I'm going to go over his best and worst game. We'll start with his worst game. His worst game was the game right before he got hurt, Week 9 game against the Miami Dolphins, where they lose 13-6. In this game, he's 21 for 39, 53.85% completion percentage, 229 yards, 4 interceptions. Now, you have a couple games here that you can look through and say, well, Sam Darnold didn't have a good game, but anytime you throw 4 interceptions in one game, when you give the other team the ball 4 times, that's never a good day. So that, to me, is his worst game. He has to watch those interceptions. There were a lot of interceptions last season. If you recall, before he got hurt, he actually led the league in interceptions thrown. Not far behind, of course, was Josh Allen or Josh Rosen, but still, those numbers need to digress for all these quarterbacks if they're going to succeed in the NFL. Going to his best game, however, you've got to look at Week 6. Week 6, the New York Jets go and play the Indianapolis Colts. They win 42-34 in a shootout. It was a great game. I remember watching that game after the Bills game, of course, and I just thought, wow, what a great game. 42-32, he's 24 for 30 for the day. That's 80%, completes 80% of his passes. That's 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 280 yards, keeps his team in it, and he does a great job in this game. Again, throws for 80%, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So good job in that game by Sam Darnold. Would love to see, if you're a Jets fan, you want to see more of that from Sam Darnold. For the season, 57.73% completion percentage, 2,865 yards, 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Again, he was sacked 30 times. Again, not as big of a running threat as Josh Allen. Ran the ball 44 times. I think it's almost half, if not exactly half the times. Josh Allen ran the ball for only 138 yards and that 1 touchdown. So, again, end of the video, we'll go over his my 2019-2020 prediction for Sam Darnold and Josh Allen, but let's talk about the newest addition to the quarterback room in the AFC East, and that is Josh Rosen. Last year, Josh Rosen drafted 9th overall by the Arizona Cardinals. Plays in 14 games, starts in 13, came in Week 3 for the Arizona Cardinals against the Bears. Finished 4 for 7 in that game. 3-10 as a starter. Had 1 comeback and 1 game-winning drive. That was week 8 versus San Fran. Week 12 versus the Green Bay Packers. Going back to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold had 1 come-from-behind win, and that was against the Buffalo Bills, the 2nd game of the season. I didn't talk about that, so I apologize. But Josh Rosen sacked 45 times. 45 times for a whopping 10.3% of his dropbacks. So 10% of the time he's dropped back, he's getting sacked. That has to affect your psyche. That has to affect then your numbers. So take that into account. Arizona does not have a good offensive line, and it showed in the stats. So did Josh Rosen have the fairest of chances in Arizona? Probably not. But did they, do you pass up on Kyler Murray? From what we hear, of course, everyone's saying no. Josh Rosen would probably disagree with you, but we'll see what Josh Rosen can do in Miami. Has a huge chip on his shoulder now, and that could only be good for the Miami Dolphins. Now, a lot of people are not sure if he will beat out Ryan Fitzpatrick for the starting QB job. If you're a Bills fan, we know Ryan Fitzpatrick well. We know what he can do. We know that he's a journeyman. We know that he's won starting jobs in the past. He's there for a reason. I just think maybe this time Josh Rosen, the young guy, second-year guy, might beat him out and start in all 16 games if he can this season. Now, looking back at the 2018 NFL season, I will say Josh Rosen's worst game is Week 5. Week 5, they play the Denver Broncos. They lose 45-10, where he goes 21 for 39, 53% completion percentage, throws for 194 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. So again, we talked about with Sam Darnold, to me, throw 4 interceptions a game. Tough to say it's not your worst game, or at least you hope it's your worst game. Same thing here with Josh Rosen, 3 interceptions against the Broncos. Definitely not going to win a lot of games doing that. However, his best game, good thing here if you're a Josh Rosen fan or if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, bounces back. And week 5 is his worst game. Week 6, I would say last season was his best game. Week 6 is against San Fran to win 18-15. He goes 23 for 40, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns. He plays well, and they win the game. Again, a come-from-behind win, 18-15 over the San Francisco 49ers. Now, we know San Fran was riddled with injuries last season as well, so we really knew that this was a game between two teams kind of at the bottom of the NFL. But you know what? When you get the job done in the NFL, you can't knock that. He still got the job done, bounced back from a poor performance, gives you a good performance. That's always good to see. That means he has a good mindset going into the future, knowing that he can bounce back if he needs to. For the season, Josh Rosen was 217 for 393 for 55.22% completion percentage, 2,278 yards, 11 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So all of these guys, all 3 of them, threw more interceptions than touchdowns this past season. That needs to change. Ran the ball 23 times for 138 yards, 0 touchdowns. So this guy has less mobility, or at least he showed off less mobility than Sam Darnold. Now, coming out of college, people were talking about Josh Rosen's mobility, and they said it was pretty good. So we'll see if that changes coming into the 2019 season. So, as I promised, I will give you my predictions for these guys coming into the upcoming season, starting with Josh Allen. Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, a lot of people interested to see how he will do this season. Will he do better? Will he regress? We hope he doesn't regress because, again, through more interceptions than touchdowns. Here's my prediction of how he will do in the 2019-2020 NFL season. Throwing for 56.2% completion percentage, 3,417 yards, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Now remember, with both the Jets and the Bills particularly, they would rather start with the run and then build up the pass after that. Both these teams are defensive-minded teams that would love to drag the game out, love to run the ball first, pass second. Obviously, there's going to be some games where you have to air it out. So I see Josh Allen throwing for over 3,000 yards this year, getting a little better with the completion percentage. Not a huge jump, but 56.2 is better than the 52.8 they threw last season. We can't expect a huge difference. So I see a little improvement there. 3,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Remember, I said I want him to run the ball less. I have him running the ball a little bit less, still showing off his athleticism. Again, you want defenses to know it's a weapon you can use if you need to, but you don't want it to be your primary weapon. So I have him running the ball 67 times, so it's down 22 attempts from this past season, 472 yards and 4 touchdowns. Again, I think that's a little more reasonable for Josh Allen. Let me know what you think about those stats in the comment section below. Again, I have 3,417 yards, 56% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 67 rush attempts, 472 yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. Do you think that's close to accurate? I will keep this record so that way at the end of the season I can look at this and go back and say, hey, you know what? Either I was way off or I was pretty dang close, and maybe we'll take a look and see how well we do. I think I would be pretty happy as a Bills fan with those numbers. If Josh Allen has those numbers, I think the Buffalo Bills can easily get a wildcard spot, if not do a little bit better than that as well. So going down to the New York, New Jersey Jets, going to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold completing 59.7% of his passes, again, close to that 60% number where you see a lot of the good QBs at. You see a lot of the good QBs in the NFL going to about 60-65% completion percentage. That's where we would love to see Josh Allen. That's where you'd love to see these guys. So I have Sam Darnold taking a step closer to that number again. 57.7% last year, 59.7% this year. 3,811 yards, 3,811 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 38 run attempts, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns. So if you're a Jets fan watching, or if you're a Bills fan and you want to chime in, let me know in the comment section below what do you think of those numbers for Sam Darnold. Again, 59.7% completion percentage, 3,811 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions for Sam Darnold. Then you move on to that new guy in the AFC East. Again, it's his second year, but first year with the Miami Dolphins. Talking about new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback coach. Those numbers are going to mess with you a little bit, but I do see Josh Rosen improving in some areas in his game. So Josh Rosen, I have 57.3% completion percentage. Again, up 2% compared to last season when he only completed 55%, 57%. 2,915 yards, not quite getting that 3,000 yard marker yet. 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions for Josh Rosen. So if you're a Dolphins fan watching this video, let me know what you think of those numbers. Are those reasonable? Miami Dolphins have some issue on the offensive line, not nearly as many as Arizona did last year. So I do see Josh Rosen getting a little better, but still need some work. You're talking about two really good defenses going up against the Jets and the Bills, and we always know the Patriots are tough no matter when they play or who they play. So I think this isn't that bad. 57%, good improvement there. 2,915 yards, just shy of 3,000, which is, you want to see a QB somewhere between 35 and 4,500 yards to consider that a good NFL season. We know QBs surpass those numbers. I'm not saying you can't surpass them, but I'm saying that's where you want to see a good starting quarterback at 35 to 4,500 yards. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think these numbers are close? Again, I will leave it in the description, the numbers I have for these quarterbacks as well, so you can go back and look at them and say, hey, Joe, not that bad, or say, hey, you might be a little off when it comes to these numbers, and here's what I think. But again, leave a comment, like this video, subscribe to this channel. We keep you up to date on all Buffalo sports news. I will keep you updated on the AFC East as well as the season gets closer and closer. We're going to do a series breakdown on the 53-man roster, bring down our 90-man roster to 53 guys. Who's in, who's out, I'll let you know coming up. Again, I appreciate all your support. Thank you for joining me. I'll talk to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.